Studying is one of the most important tasks for students. Not all students are perfect. Some will study for hours, while others won't do any work at all. Some will have the best of intentions, while others are just looking for their next party. It isn't very often that you can study for a test and get an A+. It takes a lot of time, dedication, and focus. It can be difficult to identify what you need to work on and how much time you spend studying. You might even find yourself hitting the books without any motivation. Sound familiar? Here are some common mistakes that students make while studying and a few ways to avoid them. The majority of students don't plan ahead and work on a subject as it comes up. But this can be a mistake, especially if the time that you spent preparing is completely wasted because you didn't use it. Taking a few hours to prepare each day will prove to be really useful. Failing to identify your weak spots. Everybody can benefit from working on one thing that they lack. You can benefit more from picking something that you are interested in and excelling in that subject. It might seem like the most difficult thing to avoid, but procrastination is also one of the biggest mistakes students make when studying. Procrastinating does not give you time to work out the entire question, and you can easily end up making lots of mistakes because you did not study enough. Find your study time and stick to it. If you know your time is scarce, it is important that you stick to your study time. It might be helpful to set alarms on your phone so you do not forget. I would never recommend using your computer or tablet for studying. In addition to distraction, this can interfere with the flow of your learning. Focus on one task at a time, and it will be much easier to grasp the material. Make sure you don't make the mistake of concentrating only on work assignments. In today's technologically driven world, there's a lot of information available on the internet. If you just have a part-time job, you will probably feel that you should devote your whole time to study and homework. You can forget about important things like social life, going out with friends, or doing something fun with your friends. But it is important to maintain commitments and not to let important things take a back seat. Research has found that we're better at remembering information when we're listening to it, and that we have the most memory problems when multitasking. The first step to studying effectively is to understand the material you're studying. You can do this by listening to podcasts or by watching video lessons or a lecture. You should pay attention to how well the speaker speaks, and you can learn by focusing on how he talks. When you listen to a video lecture, you should make notes and listen to the full lecture. While reading an article, you should read it all, cover to cover. Do not get distracted or move on to another thing before you finish the one you are currently reading. Reading through the materials will give you a better overview of what you need to work on and how much time you need to invest. Furthermore, reading is the best way to identify the kind of questions you can expect from the course material. In order to study effectively, it's important to take time for yourself. Students often neglect their own needs while they are studying. If you're not stressed, you will be able to concentrate better on your studies. If you find the content in your textbook boring or confusing, then you can create your own question banks. It's important to learn the information you are trying to learn, but don't be afraid to add more to your question banks so you can get a better understanding of the content. When you are successful, you want to maintain momentum. Unfortunately, it is nearly impossible to stick to the goals you set. How can you expect to achieve the highest level of motivation if you constantly fail? Instead, set some achievable goals and try to get a little further each time. Since it's easy to get distracted while studying, it's important to read and absorb some of the information before you sit down to study. By doing this, you can prepare yourself for the work you will be learning. You can also then identify what you can't recall, and you will know what you are preparing to study before you actually sit down to work.